You know, John Kelly's said on the record before some things about Donald Trump. He said some more things to the New York Times yesterday in an audio interview. And just to give people a little bit of background on Kelly, he lost his son who served. They're a Gold Star family. Kelly has dedicated his life to public service. And he was asked by this New York Times journalist in this interview about Trump's comments and admiration at times for Adolf Hitler. Have a listen to this.
He commented more than once that, that Hitler did some good things too. And of course, if you know history, again, I think he's lacking in that. But if you know what Hitler was all about, it'd be pretty hard to make an argument that he did anything good.
So what would you say when he said to you that Hitler did a lot of good things?
Well, I tell him that. I said, first of all, you should never say that. But if you knew what Hitler was all about from the beginning to the end, everything he did was in support of his racist, fascist life, philosophy, so that nothing he did you could argue was good. It was certainly not done for the right reason. And but he would occasionally say that.
What would he say when you would lay that out to him?
He'd just, that would be the end of the conversation usually.
That would be the end of the conversation. Listen, folks, make no mistake about it. If Adolf Hitler was still alive today, Donald Trump would be writing him love letters and sending him COVID test kits. Because Donald Trump admires somebody like Adolf Hitler. He wants to be an evil, murderous dictator. And I'm done making excuses and saying, well, we shouldn't compare Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler. Donald Trump has very similar characteristics in some aspects to Adolf Hitler, and the fact that he wants everybody to kiss his feet. He admires people like Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un, and he admires Adolf Hitler. And I'm so glad that John Kelly made that case because it's really, really important. And the interview goes on where John Kelly makes the case that Donald Trump fits a true fascist. And the interview is continued here where John Kelly goes on Donald Trump's absurd and ridiculous behavior.
He basically said to you that those who died for America on the battlefield were losers and suckers, and he said it more than once.
Yes, but he would say it would always that something else would get him going off at times again McCain. But he never could wrap his arms around why people would serve the country in uniform. What was in it for them? That was the general theme.
So why? Why does he not understand it? Well, first of all, he dodged the military multiple times. But to answer that, because Donald Trump has never done anything for anybody else but himself. When people decide to serve our brave men and women in uniform, they don't think of themselves first. They think of the country first. That's why we call them heroes. That's why we say they're brave. That's why most of us respect their service a great deal. The reason why Donald Trump doesn't is because he doesn't understand what it means to serve, and he doesn't understand what it means to do something to help somebody else without it helping you. Not worrying about yourself and putting somebody else first. He's never done that his entire life, and that's why he doesn't understand it. And when he sees these grave sites, like in Arlington Cemetery, and when he considers these people suckers and losers, because he sees it as, well, they just died, and they should still be alive today. Why did they even decide to serve? Look what it did to them. Instead of a normal human being that would say, well, geez, they paid the ultimate price for our freedom. They paid the ultimate price so that people like you and me can do what we want to do and have the freedoms in this country. It's called being a hero, and Donald Trump has no understanding of what that word means and what it means to serve this country. That's why. So how is the right spinning this, right? How are they spinning the statements of John Kelly? I mean, they can try to disparage John Kelly, but the man is a hero. He's spent his entire life in public service. He lost his son in the battlefield. What's the reason why John Kelly would lie? Well, if they're not going that route, Brian Kilmeade, that little weasel on Fox News today, you're not going to believe this. This is Brian Kilmeade, who's trying to make the case that Trump was maybe talking about German generals under Hitler who weren't Nazis. Folks, You cannot make this stuff up. Listen to how they're curling into a pretzel on Fox News this morning.
But the bottom line is, if you read H.R. McMaster's book, who is critical of President Trump in some of it and not in others, he talks about how Madison Kelly didn't like the president. And they didn't think he deserved the job, or they didn't think he was worthy of the job. And they went out of his way to make sure a lot of the things they asked him to do that they didn't like never got done. McMaster would be frustrated because he couldn't get their attention. And he would say, it's not your job to rein in the president. It's your job to do what the president wants. And then you factor in the fact that he runs his own company, coming from the business world, the first one we've ever had. It's not even a public company. And then he obviously has frustration. And I could absolutely see him go, now, you know what? It would be great to have German generals that actually do what we asked them to do, knowing that's maybe not fully being cognizant of the third rail of German generals who are Nazis and whatever. But he was frustrated with the slowdown of
it wasn't just a slowdown. It was insubordination. And there is a culture within Washington, not just when it comes to the generals, who, by the way, should be fired after what happened in Afghanistan, of insubordination in the sense that the bureaucrats run the government. The founders did not design this country to be that way. Unelected people don't get to run the country, even if you have 4 stars behind your name. And I think they were very frustrated that you had this outside guy that says, listen, I'm in charge now.
Do you listen to how they're trying to spin the comments of John Kelly and the fact of the matter that Donald Trump has admiration for evil, murderous dictators like an Adolf Hitler? And they try to spin it and talk about the Afghanistan withdrawal. And Brian Kilmeade's talking about how, well, I think Donald Trump was talking about German generals under Hitler who weren't Nazis. If I had $1 for every single time one of these right-wing buffoons would say, here's what I think Donald Trump was trying to say, I would be a millionaire, okay? I would be a millionaire. They're trying to discredit John Kelly and give credit and defend Orange Turd Cheeto Jesus, the liable rapist and the 34-count felon. They're trying to defend their orange man, and they're trying to go after an honorable, decent, good man who has served this country honorably in John Kelly, who lost his son on the battlefield. You cannot make this stuff up. And these Brian Kilmeades of the world, and quite frankly, any other right-wing buffoon that doesn't believe John Kelly but believes Donald Trump when he says, oh, I never said that stuff, you are complicit at a minimum, and you're a disgrace.